Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more stories that reveal the hidden truth behind the people we ignore every day. The glass of the conference room on the 40th floor of the Sterling Hill building didn't just separate the inside from the outside, it separated the gods from the insects. Or at least, that was how the board of directors behaved. Inside, the air was conditioned to a crisp 68 degrees, smelling of espresso and expensive cologne. Outside, clinging to the side of the glass in the biting November wind, was Elias. Elias was 62 years old, a black man with hands calloused from decades of gripping ropes and squeegees. To the people inside, he was a smudge on the view. A moving shadow. A machine that wiped away the grime so they could look down on the city of Chicago. But Elias wasn't just looking at the glass. He was looking through it, at the blueprints sprawled across the mahogany table. He stopped his squeegee mid-stroke. His eyes narrowed. He tapped the glass, not to clean it, but in a rhythm. 1, 2. 1, 2. Inside, Marcus Hale, the CEO of Sterling Hale Architecture, was sweating through his Italian suit. The structural integrity of the vortex spire fails at wind speeds exceeding 80 miles per hour, the chief engineer said, throwing a red marker down. The torsion is too high. We can't build it. We lose the Dubai contract. Marcus buried his face in his hands. This contract was worth $400 million. It was the lifeline the firm needed to avoid bankruptcy. Outside, Elias sighed. He reached into his coveralls, pulled out a grease pencil he used for marking cracked panes, and did something that would change the course of architectural history. He wrote a formula backward on the outside of the glass, right over where the blueprint was taped. Marcus Hale was a man who prided himself on vision, but lately, his vision was clouded by panic. The vortex spire was supposed to be his legacy, a twisting, bioluminescent tower that would redefine the Dubai skyline. But the physics weren't playing nice. The torque caused by the spiraling design created a vortex shedding effect that would essentially vibrate the building until it shattered like a wine glass in an opera house. We need to straighten the spine, suggested Julian, a junior partner with more ambition than talent. If we straighten the spine, it's just another box. Marcus shouted, slamming his hand on the table. We sold them a revolution, not a shoebox. The room went silent. That's when Marcus saw it. A shadow blocking the sun. The window washer. He was hovering there, suspended by his harness. But he wasn't cleaning. He was writing. Thick, black grease marks appeared on the glass, floating in the air like magic. F equals 0.5 rho V superscript 2 CDA. Then, a correction to the diagram. A series of gaps, wind vents, placed at specific Fibonacci intervals along the twist of the tower. What the hell is he doing? Julian stood up, indignant. He's defacing the corporate boardroom. I'll call security. Sit down, Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper. He stared at the numbers. He wasn't an engineer on the level of his lead staff, but he knew math. And he knew that the equation on the window wasn't graffiti. It was a solution to the wind load problem. Get him inside, Marcus ordered. Sir? Open the window latch. Get him inside. Now. The room erupted in protest. Sir, that is a liability, the HR director stammered. He's a manual laborer. He's probably high. Marcus walked to the window himself. He unlocked the heavy, stormproof latch and cranked the pane open. The wind howled into the room, scattering papers. Elias looked at Marcus, his eyes calm, deep, and filled with an intelligence that unnerved the CEO. You missed the drag coefficient on the upper third, Elias said, his voice gravelly but precise. He climbed over the sill, unhooking his safety line with practiced ease. He stood in his wet, gray coveralls on the plush carpet, dripping soapy water. Excuse me, the chief engineer, a man named Dr. Aris, scoffed. Who do you think you are? Elias ignored him. He walked to the whiteboard. He picked up a marker. The wind in Dubai at 2,000 feet behaves like a fluid. You're treating the building like a static object. You need to let the wind pass through the structure, not just around it. He began to draw. His hand moved with the fluidity of a master artist. Lines, vectors, load-bearing radiuses. The silence in the room shifted from awkwardness to stunned disbelief. Where did you learn this? Marcus asked, stepping closer. Elias capped the marker. I learned it when I designed the Onyx Needle in Seattle. And the Solaris Hub in Singapore. The room went dead silent. The Onyx Needle was a masterpiece of modern engineering, a building that had won the Pritzker Prize in 1998. The Solaris Hub was considered the most eco-efficient skyscraper on Earth. Impossible, Julian laughed nervously. The Onyx Needle was designed by Richard Sterling. Your boss's late father. Elias looked at Marcus. Richard Sterling was a great salesman. He was a terrible architect. He couldn't calculate a cantilever to save his life. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He knew the rumors. His father had been a drunk, a man who disappeared for weeks and returned with brilliant designs sketched on napkins. No one knew where they came from. "My name is Elias Thorne," the washer said. "I was the first black graduate of the top structural engineering program in 1975. But back then, nobody wanted a lead architect who looked like me. So, Richard hired me. Under the table. He paid me cash. I designed the buildings in his basement. He put his name on them, took the awards, and cut me a check." "That's a lie," Dr. Elias spat. "You're a window washer." "I'm a window washer now," Elias corrected. "Because when your father died," he looked at Marcus, "he didn't leave a will. He didn't leave a record. The checks stopped. And no firm would hire a 50-year-old black man with no portfolio and a gap in his resume spanning 20 years. I had to eat. So, I took a job cleaning the very windows I designed, just to be close to them." Marcus looked at the whiteboard. The solution for the vortex spire was right there. It was elegant. It was perfect. It was the work of the same mind that built his father's empire. "Prove it," Marcus said. Elias reached into the deep pocket of his work vest. He pulled out a tattered, water-stained notebook. He tossed it onto the table. Marcus opened it. The pages were yellowed, dating back to the 80s and 90s. There were sketches, detailed, hand-drawn schematics of the onyx needle. But not just the final product. The drafts. The failed attempts. The calculations. And on the last page, a letter. In Richard Sterling's handwriting. To Elias. "Without you, I am nothing but a suit. You are the soul of the skyline. I promise to make it right this year." The letter was dated 2 days before Richard Sterling died of a heart attack. Tears welled in Marcus's eyes. He looked at the man standing in the wet boots. He looked at the genius engineers sitting around the table who couldn't solve a problem Elias fixed in 5 seconds with a greased pencil. "Dr. Elias," Marcus said, his voice hard. "Get out." "Excuse me?" "You heard me. You're fired. In fact, everyone who laughed when this man entered the room, get out. Now." Julian and Elias stood there, mouths agape. "I said get out." Marcus roared. They scrambled, grabbing their laptops and fleeing the room. Marcus turned to Elias. "I didn't know. I swear to God, Elias, I didn't know." "I know you didn't, son," Elias said softly. "You were just a boy when I was working in that basement. Your father, he was a complicated man. He was afraid. Afraid the world wouldn't accept the work if they knew who made it." "We have the Dubai presentation in 3 days," Marcus said, looking at the board. "Can we finish this?" Elias smiled, a genuine smile that lit up his tired face. "We? No. I can finish it. You just need to make the coffee." For the next 72 hours, the CEO of Sterling Hale and the window washer worked side by side. Elias taught Marcus about biomimicry, about how termite mounds cool themselves and how eagle wings reduce drag. He showed him that architecture wasn't about imposing will on nature, but dancing with it. When they arrived in Dubai, Marcus took the stage. The audience was filled with sheiks, investors, and the world's press. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus began. "For years, Sterling Hale has been credited with some of the greatest designs of the century. But I stand here today to correct a history of errors." He gestured to the side of the stage. Elias walked out. He wasn't wearing coveralls. He was wearing a bespoke suit, his head held high. The design for the vortex spire, and the legacy of the onyx needle, belongs to this man. Mr. Elias Thorne. The true architect of our skyline. The silence was deafening for a moment. Then, as Elias began to speak, explaining the physics of the wind fence with the passion of a maestro, the crowd was captivated. When he finished, the applause didn't just fill the room, it shook it. They won the contract. But more importantly, Elias got his name back. The final scene of our story takes place 6 months later. The lobby of the Sterling Hale building was being renovated. A massive brass plaque was being installed next to the elevators. It listed the firm's partners. Marcus Hale, CEO. Elias Thorne, senior partner and head of design. Elias walked into the building, carrying his briefcase. He stopped by the front desk. A young man was cleaning the glass doors with a squeegee. Elias stopped. He tapped the glass. The young cleaner looked up, startled. "You missed a spot," Elias said with a wink. "And your arc is too wide. Use your wrist, not your shoulder. Save your rotator cuff." The young man smiled. "Thanks." Elias walked to the elevator, pressing the button for the penthouse. He wasn't a ghost anymore. He was the man who built the world, and finally, the world knew it. Never judge a book by its cover, and never judge a man by his uniform. True genius often hides in plain sight. If this story touched you, please subscribe and like this video so we can keep sharing these incredible true stories.